When do you know it's time to start increasing your breast milk?
So what happens in the beginning is milk, and we talked a little bit about this in the first video. The first 3 to 5 days typically is when milk production starts to come in, but then it will continue to establish over the next couple weeks based upon the baby's needs and demands. So I always tell my moms, think of it like the Amazon guy came and just dropped off your package and he doesn't know what's inside of it. Here you go. So when the baby's born, your body doesn't know how much your particular baby needs. So when your milk comes in, it just comes in and your body's got to regulate that. So it will do that over those first couple of weeks. So what we do it, unless there is some medical necessity that we want you to introduce pumping ahead of time, what we like you to do is wait a good 3 to 4 weeks till breastfeeding's been well established, baby's doing good at the breast, your body has regulated its milk supply, and then kind of go from there. There are moms that naturally have an overproduction and moms that might struggle a little bit. And that could be from a variety of things, from diet, maybe not drinking enough fluids, not being consistent with breastfeeding or pumping or whatever. Everybody is completely different. But if you're kind of getting to that point, say, I'm going to be going back to work soon. Baby's doing really good. Maybe dad wants to give a bottle every once in a while. We want to be able to go out on a date. Again, get out of the house. How do we start introducing that pumping or increasing the milk production at that point? So what I usually will tell moms is you want to do it when your milk supply is at its highest. So your prolactin, which is your milk making hormone, naturally increases and decreases throughout the day. So it's going to be the highest in the early morning hours, and then, like middle of the night, early morning hours. And then in the afternoon, after lunchtime, it drops down. So you really don't want to be doing a lot of pumping or additional stimulation during those late afternoon hours, because your supply is already going to be at its lowest than any other time of the day. So naturally, most moms will say, oh, well, that's why my baby's really fussy in the late afternoon and the evening, where they want to eat very frequently. They'll want to eat closer in time and maybe longer sessions. And of course, that's when dad's coming home from work, and if you have other kids, they're coming home from school, and it can just be kind of a hectic time. So there's no point in really doing additional stimulation at that time where you're already going to be at a low point. So what I usually will recommend to my moms is do it when your supply is at its highest. So maybe one of your middle of the night feeds, if you can tolerate it, if you're awake. Sometimes I'm up in the middle of the night and it's hard to go back to sleep. That would be a great time to do it. Or one or two of the feedings in the morning. So say the baby nurses at 6 o'clock. After the baby nurses and you get them back down to sleep, go ahead and pump for about 8 to 10 minutes, just a little bit after the baby's already eaten. What is left over is what we call your residual. What is left over after the baby's already eaten? That milk is actually going to be very high in fat content because it's the milk at the end of the feeding. You might not get a lot, but that's okay. But if you do it 2 to 3 times a day, you should have enough to where maybe you could get one bottle per day that you can be storing. And then that's kind of how you start your stash, or just naturally doing some of that extra stimulation to increase your milk supply in general. So moms who are maybe struggling, say maybe the baby typically takes 4 ounces and you're right at 4 ounces. Pretty much every time the baby eats, that's about all that you're making. Just adding in a couple of those pumping sessions during the day will help increase that to where it should be able to continue to keep up with the baby versus, decreasing. So a couple times a day, maybe the first 2 feedings in the morning, and then like at night before you go to bed, or in the middle of the night. And that just by that doing that extra stimulation, and it can be with a breast pump, it can be manual expression, it could just be doing some breast compressions and manually expressing the breast milk. Doesn't necessarily have to be pumping, but just additional stimulation on top of what the baby's already done.